I'm 20 years old. Why is a one-bedroom apartment $600, $1,600? Like, oh my God, for 500 square foot.
One at a time, I said. Yeah.
Rent prices is outrageous. And then these jobs, they're bare minimum jobs. Like, I'm supposed to be in customer service. Before I was a server, I was working at like fast food restaurants, and nothing against them, love it, but we need them jobs. But why are you yelling at me over a burger? So it's one of those type of things. It's like the work life, trying to balance out school, trying to balance out finding housing. It's just overhyped. Like, I really waited my whole life to grow up and do this.
All right, guys. So we got to talk about a pretty hilarious segment that I cannot believe CNN decided that it would be a good idea to air this base black woman's opinion on the upcoming election between President Trump and Kamala Harris, okay? Because they went to Virginia to talk to this woman who happens to own a Trump merchandise store. And let's just say they got a reality check that was partially responsible for the meltdown that I covered on CNN when they were boohoo whining and crying about Nancy Mace mispronouncing Kamala Harris's name. Yeah, that segment, Michael Eric Dyson said that this woman that you guys see on the screen, she is embodying self-hatred and white supremacy.
Michael.
That sounds like self-hatred and justification of white supremacy. And let me just say this, because this Congresswoman is a wonderful human being, but when you disrespect Kamala Harris by saying you will call her whatever you want, I know you don't intend it to be that way. That's the history and legacy of white disregard for the humanity of black people.
Oh, so now you're calling me racist.
I didn't say. I just said you weren't a
BS.
racist.
That is complete.
No, you don't have to intend racism to accomplish
you are
it.
intending that
Your
I'm
disrespect
racist,
of Kamala
and
Harris
that
is part and parcel of a tradition of disrespect.
Yeah, so this is the video that led up to that. Let's get into it.
As recent polls show, Vice President Harris gaining momentum in her bid for the presidency. They also show her winning over more support from a key voting bloc, black voters. According to data this week from Pew Research Center, 77% of black voters support Harris compared to 64% who backed Biden in July. Trump's support among black voters is unchanged at around 13%. Now, this comes as the former president is trying to appeal more to the black community, a group that has long and overwhelmingly backed Democrats. CNN's Ellie Reeves spent time recently in Virginia at a shop selling Trump merchandise that's run by a black woman.
Every woman ought to have one of these. It's one of those things that when people see one, then they want one. Same thing with the Confederate hat. You know why? Because people don't think you have the nerve to do it.
Joanne Price runs a Trump store in Christiansburg, Virginia. When Joe Biden announced he wouldn't run for president again, was there any part of you who felt a pull to vote for Harris?
No, absolutely not. I would not vote for either one of them. I would not vote Democrat ticket, no way.
This is a white privilege card. And this is just a play. It just says this card trumps everything, and it gives a barrier, happiness and success because of the color of the skin.
And who buys that?
White people.
Okay.
It's funny.
And then when you give it to a state trooper, they'll let you go. Won't write you a ticket.
You think so?
I've experienced it. Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah. And then he said, okay, he laughed at it and gave it back to me and did not write me a ticket.
This actually happened at least once elsewhere. In 2022, a woman claimed Alaska police let her go without a ticket when she flashed a white privilege card instead of a driver's license.
It's humorous to us. You know, it really is. It's humorous to the average American here.
For 2-1, he was a Republican, too.
Trump has been working to appeal to black voters, and polls showed some success when Biden was still in the race, but have since gone down. The Trump campaign this year has made a big effort to reach out to black voters. What do you think of their efforts?
I think their efforts are succeeding tremendously. All the things that have happened to President Trump, the attacks on him, have done nothing more than strengthen black people's connection to him. Because now he's someone who is the target of a struggle, and they have always felt that they've been a target. I did prison ministries for 5 years, so, you know, if you're a convicted felon and then somebody else is a convicted felon, there's a camaraderie there.
Yeah, so there you go, right? You have a very simple, reasonable explanation on Trump's comments, which are true, that, yeah, because of the political persecutions that I'm going through because of the convictions, yeah, I mean, look, you're going to have people that are going to resonate with the weaponization of the criminal justice system against an individual when it's unjust, right? This is what he's saying, okay? And this woman's saying, yeah, it seems as if that is what happens, okay? That's exactly what happens. But again, what you see here is a woman who's a normal, regular person who does not get triggered by little things, like, for example, the Confederate flag. In fact, she's like, hey, let me make some money off this, right? Let me sell the Confederate flag instead of boohoo whining and crying about it, okay? Let me sell it, okay? And, hey, if people want to buy it and they want to support it, it is what it is, okay? But, she is clearly running a business that, a good business, is probably a pretty lucrative business, and she's not living her life as a victim, right? She's actually empowering herself and saying, hey, well, let me, do something that is going to help my circumstances and going to help me feed my family instead of boohoo whining and crying about the rest of society and the so-called systemic racism that is supposed to be holding her back. Okay. I think this woman is an example of the type of black voter or the type of black person that the liberal media and the black bourgeoisie pretends doesn't exist. Okay, this is actually pretty common throughout the South. It's more common than you think.
Donald Trump attacked Kamala Harris, questioning her racial identity. She's black.
Promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
He's acknowledged his commentary has provoked mixed reactions. Price is just one person and not a swing voter. But we were curious what she made of his comments, given that she's a black woman and fervent Trump supporter and former local Republican Party chair. How do you make sense of how Trump talks about Vice President Kamala Harris? That he sort of suggests that he doesn't understand her biracial background, that first she was Indian and then she was black. What do you make of that?
I don't understand it either. She's Indian and she's Jamaican.
Yeah.
Is she black?
I mean, do you not think she's black?
Is she? Was she born here?
Yes.
Yes. Were her parents citizens? No.
Okay. But we have birthright citizenship in America.
Mm-hmm. We call that anchor.
People can't immigrate here and not be citizens, but have green cards and work permits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. However, she can claim to be black because of her Jamaican father. That's her right. We're a melting pot, because I basically have a combination in my family as well.
How do you reconcile that? Like, you have a history of blended families in your family. How do you reconcile that with Trump seeming to not understand how Kamala Harris could have a blended family herself?
She could have a blended family. What I'm saying is his comments about that, I think he's making a point. And, I'm not so disturbed by that.
But what is the point he's making?
The point he's making simply is that she is not a black person.
Well, yeah, that is what everybody knows is true, but they want to pretend is not true. And I just love how CNN loves to make declarative statements that Kamala Harris is in fact black. When, again, I haven't seen any proof or evidence. Like, real talk. Like, I have never seen proof or evidence that Kamala Harris is actually black. There is more evidence that Kamala Harris is Irish than black. Okay? I'm so serious. Where is the actual evidence? They are declaring she is black. And I really do wish that one of these times where you have the mainstream liberal media claiming that Kamala Harris is black, I wish they would say, well, where's your evidence? Like, actually show me the evidence, okay? Jamaican is not black, okay? There are a lot of Jamaican people that are not black. They keep saying she's Indian and Jamaican, but Jamaican is a nationality. Jamaican is not a race. But here we have it, once again, where the mainstream liberal media, they boohoo, whine, and cry about people trying to talk about Kamala Harris's race, but they're making it about race, right? This is what they're doing right now, okay? The fact they even asked this woman this question, they want to now use this woman's answer in which she says, well, I'm confused about it as well, too, which is what a lot of people are confused about, okay, in regards to what Kamala Harris actually is, her identity. again, they're going to try to use that as an example. See, listen, this is how Trump supporters think about Kamala Harris. Okay, this is unbecoming, right? These people are unhinged. Okay, this is what they do. But they're the ones that ask the question. The only right answer in their mind is to come out here and to say that, yeah, Kamala Harris is black, even though, again, I'm not sure if there's any evidence out there that actually supports that claim. I haven't seen it. Somebody please show me.
There were some mixed views on the idea of a woman president. What do you think about Kamala Harris?
Kamala Harris, may I say this, and hopefully that you ladies won't get offended, but because of what happened in the Garden of Eden, there will never be an elected woman, whether she's black or white, that would occupy the White House that God would ever stand behind.
I'm not sure America's quite ready for female leadership. It would be wonderful to have a female president if and when one arises that has conservative values that are going to lead the nation in prosperity.
Did Joe Biden dropping out change your view of the election at all?
Oh, it surely did. I think she's going to be worse than Joe. I just don't think she has the experience. I think she was only chosen because she was a woman.
He has been mocked, scrutinized, slandered, dragged into court. This man is still standing, and he's standing strong because he knows that he was chosen. He's our David.
And Ella Reeve joins me now.
Yeah, so yeah, I think this liberal white woman got a very uncomfortable reality check, okay, because she couldn't really push back too hard on so-called people of color in their opinions about Trump, right? And I really do believe that that was probably something that she never experienced before. But again, you know, if you've ever lived in the South, it's more common than you think, okay? In regards to black people who do feel this way, okay? And I don't think I saw anything that is an embodiment of white supremacy, right? To be quite honest with you, okay? I don't think that these people have internalized white supremacy at all. I think they're just normal, regular, everyday people who have these core values, okay? Clearly Christian values, and that is how they perceive the world, right? And again, to a lot of these East Coast liberals, that is very triggering, right? They don't really understand it.
I'm wondering what you heard from other customers in the store.
Well, as much as identity politics was rebuked by the merchandise there, identity was still really important to the people I spoke to. For example, one younger man told me that he didn't like Harris because she was for city people who had office jobs, whereas Trump was for blue-collar people like him.
And yeah, well, that is identity politics, but that is identity politics based off geographic location. And in my opinion, I think that that is a more relevant and less divisive way to discuss identity politics than the whole race conversation, because every black person does not think the same, right? So when you're out here using racial identity politics, you're not speaking to black people in their lived experience based off where they live, okay, where they actually grew up, like their actual lived experience. Because again, being a black person, that doesn't automatically mean that you experience racism or that you hate white people or that you've been discriminated against. That's not what it means. It doesn't mean that you're poor by default. Doesn't mean that you're a criminal by default, right? So when you speak to black people as if they all experience the same things just because they're black, yeah, that is divisive. Like, for example, when they want to make the police conversation or police brutality conversation about black people, well, that's a black issue, right? Police are a black issue. As if every black man has had bad experiences with the police, right? Every black man has had their ass whooped or they've been roughed up by the police. Now, me personally, as a black person, I have had interactions with the police, but I've never had an interaction with the police where the police have used physical violence. In fact, I've never had an interaction with a police officer that I felt was in any way disrespectful or antagonistic. Now, again, all of them weren't great. Every police officer wasn't, amazing and, such a nice person towards me. But I would say at the very worst, it was, okay, yeah, I was speeding. Here you go. Here's my license. Sorry about that, sir. Going about my day, right? That's it, right? That's it, okay? So when Democrats talk about doing something for black people and police brutality, right? This is why they want to talk about the qualified immunity thing, they want to make that a black issue. It's like, no, that's not a black issue. You're not doing anything for black people. That's a criminal issue, okay? Criminals are the ones that have to worry about police for the most part, but I'm a law-abiding citizen. So the chances of me actually having to worry about police brutality are extremely slim. I'm not saying it never happens. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's just not on my top priority of issues because I'm not a criminal, okay? And just because I'm black, that doesn't mean they're going to make me a criminal just because I'm a black male. That has not happened to me yet. But when you're talking about speaking to city people versus rural people, well, that's a different conversation because in rural America, generally, people are going to have the same experience living in rural America. And that is more relevant when you're talking about a policy conversation than talking about race, okay? Rural people, whether you're black, white, whatever, are probably going to have more in common with each other in regards to a shared set of values and beliefs and issues than, for example, a rural black person and a black person that grew up in the city. Because their geographic location, where they actually grew up, is going to have more to do with what they believe and the problems that they experience than their skin color, okay? So when the left loves to rebut the right and their rejection of identity politics, they are correct in the sense that, yes, a vast majority of politics is based off identity. However, the most toxic form of identity politics is identity politics based off race, sex, whether or not you like your genitalia, sexuality, okay? All of these things are very toxic forms of identity politics. But yes, you do have other forms of identity politics, but I think they're much more relevant and less divisive than the gender, race, and sexuality identity politics that is weaponized by the left.
And how did you meet the woman who runs the store?
I met her about 6 months ago in Virginia. She told me this story of wearing a Confederate flag swimsuit on the beach and how so many people had come up to her. She realized she'd missed a marketing opportunity. Obviously, I wanted to talk to her about what she thought about Harris's nomination, but she wasn't going to budge on that. And of course, polls show that she is not in the majority among black women. Even a black woman who was our taxi driver on the story could not stop raving about how much she loved Kamala Harris.
Ellie Reed, fascinating. Thank you.
Yeah. So again, this is what I'm talking about in regards to identity politics. That's exactly what I'm talking about. She just said, well, there was another black woman who was raving about Kamala Harris. This other black woman didn't like Kamala Harris. However, the Democrats will make you believe that, no, if you do not vote for Kamala Harris, then you're not actually really black. As if being a black person means that you must vote for Kamala Harris and Democrats. Again, that form of identity politics is extremely toxic, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think that was a reality check for this white liberal woman, and I hope she learned something, right? That not all black people think the same. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.